O Allah, bless us in what you have provided for us. O Allah, inspire us with right guidance and protect us from the evil of our own selves. I mean, all right, y'all. This is about loyalty, the real kind of loyalty. Okay, let's break this down. Let's do some word alchemy. Loyalty. There's two words in this title that doesn't mean what you think it means. All right. The first, and listen, there's a lot of words that you probably use in your vocabulary and your lexicon that are probably being used inadequately or incorrectly. You never know unless you can, each word you use, you can just define what it means. And defining what it means is not an example. It's actually breaking down what it means. And to help do that, there's this little thing called Google, right? You can Google the etymology, that's the origin of the word, and then go from there and start extrapolating, all right? So let's do loyalty. Loyalty, this word travels from Old French, loyalty. I don't know how to exactly pronounce it, but it's Loialte. And it gets its bones, its origins from Latin word legalis or lex or legis. Sounds familiar? Or law. At its root, loyalty is not a feeling, that is not what you traditionally prescribe to or ascribe to loyalty, right? Loyalty, the original meaning is a contract, is a binding covenant. It's a covenant structure between a man and the obligation that he carries. Loyalty. It's kind of in the same realm. So before that word was softened into a sentiment, before it became synonymous to affection and closeness, homies, it described a man's legal obligation to his Lord, right? To his covenant partner, his king. A man was loyal because he was legally bound, because something external to his mood governed his behavior. Follow me. A man was loyal because there was a structure above his preference that held him in place when preference alone would let him drift off, okay? I hope y'all are following me. Now listen, the legal root was the whole point. That was the whole premise. That was what it was about, right? Which is now gone. Loyalty meant you stayed not because you felt like staying, but because the binding prescribed for that. The binding held, right? The structure held, the covenant held. Even when staying was inconvenient, you had a contract. You had an agreement, right? Even when leaving would have been the most rational calculation by every other standard, no, you honor your contract, your agreement. The modern usage of this word, it took the root completely out, right? So now loyalty is just an emotion. It's a mood, a quality of friendship described in terms of feelings rather than obligation. It's not the vibration. So men stay loyal the way they stay positive, right? People treat loyalty as a disposition you adopt when conditions are favorable, and you just release it, let it go when those conditions become a little bit difficult, when you're uncomfortable. When loyalty becomes a feeling, it disappears when the feeling does. Feelings are just not, you should never, ever make decisions or movements or whatever based on feelings, okay? They're not real. It comes and goes with the wind, right? When loyalty is binding, it holds when everything else breaks. The distinction is actual structure and architect, right? The distinction is the difference between a wall and a preference about how the furniture is arranged. Now that was loyalty. There's a lot with that. You didn't even know that. Now we're going to go to real, the word real, because I said real loyalty. That comes from the Latin word realis. That comes from res, and it means thing, substance, actual matter, right? Actual matter that's occupying space in the actual world. So something with the weight when you pick it up. It's a thing. It's an actual thing, right? Something that holds its shape independent of favorable conditions, right? So how sturdy a thing is how sturdy and how resilient it'll be. Real means it exists because it actually exists, right? Not because circumstances are currently making it possible. It don't change shape based on what would be convenient for it to do. It just is. The phrase, the real kind, is not redundant by accident. It's very intentional and it's very diagnostic. We're living in a time when the counterfeit has circulated so long that everybody's forgotten what the genuine article looks like and what it costs to have it. The qualifier is necessary because most of what men call loyalty is just transaction management. What did he do for me? I got him back, whatever, right? And there's no real sentiment. There's no real spirit or no real bond behind that. It's just transaction. So let's put the two words together. Loyalty, rooted in lex, binding law, real in the sense of res or actual substance with weight. The title is describing covenant architecture, a legal structure between souls that hold not because conditions are favorable, but because it's built on something that does not move when the conditions move. Okay? That's what this lecture is about this evening. The difference between the binding and the preference, between covenant and just a transaction, between what lasts when everything is tested and what dissolves the minute the gravity shifts. By the time this is over, everybody in here, you want to know which one you currently have, and you want to know exactly why. You follow me? All right, so look, in Arabic, the concept closest to real loyalty is not a single word. It's a system of obligation built into a structure of the faith itself. Let that settle for a hot second, okay? Now, I'm gonna integrate some Arabic words, but I'm gonna explain what they mean as we go along, so just follow me. Take notes if you need. Wala and wala. W-A-L-A, W-A-L-A-A. The word means alliance, closeness, nearness to, a bond of protection and support that carries legal force within the covenant of Islam. So the Quran places this word in one of the most structurally important verses in the entire book, and that is Surah Al-Ma'idah, Ayah 55. And it goes like this: your wali, your protector, is only Allah, his messenger, and those who have believed. So listen to me. So God said to the people, your protector is only God. Not me, I'm not God, but God. God's messenger and those who have believed, so real believers. Wali, it comes from the same root as wala, your protector, your covenant ally, the one who's standing with you carries obligation, not as preference, right? The Quran does not use the word friend here. You don't see that, right? It don't use companion or associate or homie or network contact, business partner. No. It uses a legal covenant term because the relationship Allah is describing between believers is not casual. Let's run that back. Listen, y'all. What Allah prescribes as far as relationships between believers is deeper than friendships. It's deeper than that, okay? It's not casual. It don't expire when the circumstance becomes inconvenient. It does not renegotiate when associates become costly, when they're annoying. It's a covenant structure rooted in shared submission to the same Lord, with rights, responsibilities on both sides that do not change based on conditions. This is why this covenant and these brotherhoods and sisterhoods is important. We're going to really get into this. Listen, this architecture of loyalty, this architecture of real loyalty and understanding the architecture reveals why most of what passes for loyalty in modern world is not loyal at all. Now, there's a second word in the Arabic language that describes the counterfeit version, and is very similar. It's Mwala. So we have wala, and then you have Mwala. It's the same root as wala, but it describes something fundamentally different. Mwala is alliance for advantage, right? You align with someone because of what the alignment gives you: shared benefit, mutual gain, the calculation that proximity to this person serves my interests right now. Transactional. The alignment exists because the math exists. The math works out right now. It's good for my pockets. It's good for whatever, right? And it has nothing to do with shared covenant. Nothing to do with shared submission to something above both parties. Nothing to do with an obligation that holds when the math changes. Y'all not praying together, right? Y'all not praying together. Mwala looks identical to Wala from the outside because just like Wala, there's some proximity. You look close, but they produce a circle of men who you call brothers. That happens, but it's there, they're there, they fill the room. It feels like it looks like it, but it's not the same, right? Because let a little bit of pressure get applied to the crew and let's see who stands. Let's see who goes. Let's see who's got a price on them. You know what I'm saying? Let's see who moves, because you know what? This is fundamentally different, but it's fundamentally different in my pockets too, right? Let's see who moves on who stands on principle or who moves for advantages, right? Advantages, temporary advantages for this secular world too, right? Listen, that kind of association with you is a liability, right? Because when that pressure arrives, Wala holds, but a Mwala does not. Wala is rooted in covenant. Mawala is rooted in money, calculations. What can I get? Okay? When that calculation change, they change, right? It's simple. It is what it is. The math will complete itself. Patterns, equations, so on and so forth. You cannot betray a transaction by ending it. You can only betray a covenant. Now, every man who's ever disappeared, right? When your situation got heavy, they were just being a muwala. They are not disloyal. They weren't even loyal. They didn't. That wasn't the agreement, right? They was calculating, and the calculations changed, right? So the orbit dissolved because the gravity that held it together stopped producing returns. He was not lying to you when he said, you know, my brother. He was using the word in the Mwala sense. Brotherhood as a benefit only. Brotherhood is a shared access to provision. The provision stops as the proximity ends. That is the structural logic of the transaction completing itself. There's a distinction, very visible before that test came. The man operating in Wala reveals himself in the small moments, long before the large test gets named itself. He tells you the truth. He annoys you, he bothers you because he coming with that truth. And sometimes the truth hurts, but that is necessary in our desire, in our journey of growing. You don't grow from comfort, you grow from discomfort. In your your comfort zone has to be shaken, and that's not a fun thing. It's sometimes, most of the time, and that's where that Walla comes at. He's always there, dropping some jewels on you when it's necessary, pointing you in the right direction of truth. Okay, now you're not gonna want to hear it, but he has to tell you. You have to be open to it. The Walla will show up when showing up costs him something too. He's consistent between public and private. The man operating on the other side, the Mwala, is consistent only when the conditions are favorable, when it's alive, right? You just not, it's right there in front of y'all, but you got to be looking with the correct eyes. Listen, y'all, just because someone has fun with you doesn't mean they're your friend. Most of the time, the people you have the most fun with are not your friends. Your friends are with you when it's not fun, when it's not turned up, okay? They're checking on you. They're not just checking your temperature. That's what a Mwala do, all right? They're calculating. All right, so the Prophet, peace be upon him, he issued a warning about this that most men have not really fully absorbed or really understood. There's a hadith recorded in Abu Dawood and Tirmidhi, and it goes, a man who is on the religion of his close friends. So let each of you look carefully at whom he befriends. Look carefully, right? Not let's chill, we just chilling, hanging out, passive association. No, active examination. Your brother's or your homie's religion is your religion. If your homie's religion is getting drunk, that's your religion. Don't tell me that you are not the sum total of the people that you're around, because you are. You got to pay attention to all these things. The people that you give proximity to shapes your character, even when you're not realizing it or intending it. Okay. And that's not a suggestion for like social preferences. That was a warning, right? A warning about the architecture of who you become, because it's unconscious. Who you allow near you will determine who you are becoming. That's a law that operates quietly without your consent. So a man operating in Wala has something going on independent of your proximity. He has direction. He has his own motion, a life that he's accountable to he has accountability for before he even knew you, right? Before he even met you. And he's going to continue if y'all part ways. He does not need your resources because he's building his own. He don't need your orbit because he has his own motion, right? He chooses to be near you because you represent something aligned with who he is becoming, and that is what his Lord requires of him. His loyalty is not borrowed from your success. It is generated from his own alignment with something that does not change when the circumstances change. A man operating in Mwala is anchored in just a transaction. This is the other side. You take that transaction away, and that man goes away too, right? He is never, ever near you because of who you are. He don't even know you, right? He's only near you because of what you are providing. The provision stops, the proximity stops. The structural limitation of Mwala prevents Wala from forming. Two things can't occupy space at the same time, right? You cannot produce genuine covenant from an architecture built on advantage. You can only produce the appearance of it until the conditions shift. Listen, the Ansar of Medina modeled the architecture of the Wala for every generation after them, okay? When the Muhajiran arrived from Mecca, they left their homes, their properties, and sometimes their families, the Ansar didn't perform brotherhood. They split their houses. They distributed their wealth. Men who had known each other only for months, they looked at men that they had just met and said, take half of what I own, we build from here together. That's Wala in action. That's covenant rooted in loyalty, shared submission under Allah. You split your house for a covenant brother. The distinction between the two things, that's everything. This is the benefit of our brotherhood and our sisterhood, our ummah, of being a Muslim. In Surah Al-Hujarat, ayat 10, it says, the believers are nothing but brothers. The believers are nothing but brothers, right? A bond formed through shared covenant. The shared submission creates a structure of obligation that runs deeper than social preference. Listen, brotherhood in Islam is a legal reality. Legal. And like all legal realities, it carries obligations on both sides. You have a right to your brother and he has a right to you. Those rights do not expire just because conditions change. They're not subject to renegotiations because of comfort. Real loyalty is a spiritual obligation rooted in covenant, executable through action and visible through behavior under pressure. Under pressure, okay? So it has a price for entry, and that price is that you must be a covenant man first. You have to be right and exact. A man submitted to something above himself. A man whose own wala is properly ordered. Listen, y'all, you cannot build a circle of wala around foundation of self-interest. The men around you will always reflect the foundation you stand on. If you stand on just calculations, they're going to stand on calculations. If you stand on covenant, then the men who belong will stay, and the men who do not, they're vamus. The circle, your circle, what you create will rebuild your foundation, and the foundation rebuilds the man. The circle, it ain't ever random. It's always an accurate reflection of who you actually are at the level that matters. Not the level that you say, the level of who you truly are. Now, there's always a diagnosis in every social disease, and that's what we're tackling. This is the hospital. We're curing social and societal sickness. The illness has a name: proximity addiction. Right now in your prescription, proximity addiction. The confusion of closeness with covenant. Now, the mistake of this presence for brotherhood, the era of filling a circle based on who's near you without asking why they're near you or whether that reason is structural integrity, the whole tested, like you don't know, you're just doing it. The diagnostic question is not who's around them. That question is who's here because of covenant. Most men can't answer that question, at least not accurately. And it ain't because they ain't thought about it. It's because they spent years building circles without ever learning to read one. They built the room, they filled the seats. They read the filling of the seats as confirmation. That's not confirmation. That's gravity doing what gravity does. Provide enough of something and things fall forward. Physics and brotherhood are not the same discipline. The social media era has built this confusion to an industrial, enormous scale. A man with 100,000 followers think he has a tribe. He has an audience. Tribes share blood. Tribes share blood, covenant, sacrifice. Audience consume content and leave when the content stops. Produce something they want, they're going to be there. The psychological architecture of social media was engineered for proximity with negative covenant, no covenant. Follow, like, share. None of those actions require anything from the person that's doing it, right? None of them cost nothing. None of them produce the friction that real brotherhood requires at the real, or that what real brotherhood builds. A man that built his entire sense of community on the architecture of the feed is simultaneous connection, and it weighs nothing, and it holds nothing, and ultimately it means nothing. The damage this illness produces runs in 4 directions, same time. Personal damage, When a man can't distinguish Wala from Mwala, he calibrates his identity to the wrong standard. The man around him became his measure. Their presence is his confirmation, and they'll celebrate, cool, but because you up. That's not validation, but you'll see it as validation, right? Their agreement becomes his evidence that he is on the right path. The entire calculation is built on saying, those men are there for the transaction. When the transaction shifts, so does their assessment, so does their presence. The man who built his identity on that foundation will collapse when the foundation collapses. Transactional foundations do not hold under pressure, y'all. They hold under favorable conditions at the time, and those conditions end. That's the truth of the party bus season. Now stay with me. The party bus, or the section is full season, right? The orbit active, but the energy in that room, it reads like something real. Oh, we crew, we all here. And that fullness was being interpreted as confirmation. Confirmation that the direction was correct, that the life being built was working, but none of that was accurate. The section was full because provision was active. They're all getting something out of us. They're not even interested in contributing to it to make it bigger. They're just in it to take, to glow and bask in your light. The moment provision stops, they're out of here. They act like they don't even know you. Been through this many times. Many times. Always my fault though. Same with y'all. So the spiritual damage in this, it runs deep. Because a man surrounded by Mwala is insulated from the things that he needs most. Honest feedback, genuine confrontation, truth that costs the speaker something to deliver. The men managing your comfort to protect the transaction will never bring you that truth ever. You know what they'll do? They'll talk behind you with other people, not like criticizing you, tearing you down. They disagree. Like, yeah, I don't know why he's doing that. What's wrong with him? What's wrong with him? And then see you the next day and shake your hand and dab it up and whatever. Let's get a flick. Let's some concept. Now, cipher. Your comfort keeps the transactions operational. So you shouldn't be comfortable with that. They're going to keep feeding you what keeps you comfortable. Yo, you killed that. You did that. You this, you that, whatever. That makes you weak because that makes you're eating that comfort like it's nutrition, like it's food, like it's a meal, like it's sustenance. But your character is getting weak. Your character is eroding. Characters are strong because of friction. That's how we say strong, right? The men around you, they have a structural interest in eliminating friction that will build you. Of course, they might see your blind spots and not gonna tell you. No way. Because they want to be you. They want to be you. They want what you got. Allah addressed this with precision. In Surah At-Tawbah, ayah 119, Allah says this, you who have believed, fear Allah and be with the truthful. O you who have believed, fear in Allah and be with the truthful. That command is explicit. Be with the truthful. The believer is instructed to keep the company of men who will deliver truth at personal cost, not men who manage his comfort to protect their access. Truth is the only currency that builds. Comfort purchased through dishonesty builds nothing. They're just trying to protect their access to you. That's it, okay? Truth is the only currency that builds, y'all. This section fills the character's emptiness, right? The orbit grows and the discernment shrinks. The man becomes surrounded and simultaneously isolated from everything that would actually build him. So this comfort, listen, Allah's language is an uncorruptible language. His language is numbers, it's mathematics, right? It's equations, it's patterns. That doesn't lie. And there's an equation, a pattern, a formula that is a constant. And that constant is comfort kills. All right? The rational damage that compounds from comfort is very spiritual, is deep. When a man's never experienced genuine Wallah, he cannot recognize it when it arrives. Remember, a man out of alignment feels that discipline is violence. That's what they feel like, right? So he's never been receiving counterfeit for so long that the genuine article feels foreign. It's weird. They feel threatened. The man who finally shows up with real Wallah, who tells you the truth when the truth costs him something, who stays associated when association is a liability, who holds you accountable when accountability requires friction, that man will feel uncomfortable to be around. That's the man you should be around. That should be your guy. He's operating at a standard at a higher standard than what you've been calibrated to. So it's foreign to you. It's uncomfortable, but comfort kills. Run away from comfort, right? Men who most men are weak. I'll say it. Most men are weak, trained on Mwala. You trained on comfort, on somebody stroking your ego. You think an honest man is harsh. Right? They call accountability, that's disrespectful. No, it's holding you accountable, holding you to the fire. They think if you're correcting them, you're aggressive. Listen, y'all, this is the world we live in. The counterfeit feels like the real thing. And the real thing, that's a threat. It's violence. It's toxic masculinity amongst men. Wild. The civilizational damage is a layer that nobody wants to examine because it requires collective honesty. You have to look at yourself. The Ummah has been in a state of fragmentation for centuries. Every analysis points outwards: colonization, political manipulation, economic extraction. The forces are real. If you look over in the Middle East right now, everybody's against Iran. Every one of those Muslim nations over there, they're against their brothers, right? They are not aligned because they don't believe in Allah. They believe in money. They believe in money. Listen, y'all, I'm trying to tell y'all, I'm trying to put everything that you see is not what it appears to be. Colonization, political manipulation, economic extraction, real symptoms. And they're symptoms of a prior failure. What happens to a community that can no longer hold pressure, and a community cannot hold under pressure when its individual units are built on Mwala. It ain't solid. A civilization built on transactional loyalty, it dissolves when the transaction becomes unfavorable. That is the architecture. And you can't build something that lasts on a foundation that renegotiates based on conditions. The Ummah needs men of Wallah at the individual level, in every circle, in every household, in every partnership. One man deciding to become a covenant man, and then 2, and then 10. The civilization is built from the smallest unit upward. The disease at the civilizational level is the personal disease operating at scale. The mechanism is identical whether you are examining one man circle or an entire population. Anybody in sales can tell you. Do you have a program that costs $300? If you can refine your pitch good enough to sell one, you could sell 1 million. The question this section leaves you with is not about your circle. It is about the man inside of the circle, because the circle is always a reflection, and the reflection has been accurate the entire time. I've diagnosed you with this social and societal disease. It's disgusting. Now I want to write your prescription, and that prescription is not comfortable. You don't even want to hear this. You, and you. You must become worthy of Wallah first. Me, I had vultures around me, other brothers in shape, buff, all of that. They looked the part, wasn't the part. But I wasn't the part either. That's why they was around me. Aya likes a trap. Become worthy of Wallah first. I had to do it. You have to do it. And you don't just do it and it's done. You constantly qualify yourself. You constantly work on yourself. You constantly make salah on time. You constantly be generous to people. You constantly fast. You constantly talk to Allah. You constantly do all of the things that we're prescribed to do. Because everything that Islam tells you to do is for the benefit of you, making you an upright person. Become worthy of Wallah first. I shouldn't have to say anything else. Become worthy of a loyal friend first. You can't demand or expect loyalty if you're not loyal. I was having a conversation with some brothers 2 nights ago, and I told the brothers, yeah, I drifted a lot. I had to revert to like I was a child, like a young man in Islam, and adhere to all of our rules and stick to it, even to the point of celibacy. Well, why? Because first of all, we're told to. And I said, brother, I understand why. How can I want a pure woman if I'm not pure? Some of you brothers think that you can just bop around till you find the one you want and then cut everything off. You're filthy. And whatever you find is just like you. I promise you. They're probably slicker than you, so you don't know it. But whatever you find is just like you, because we are always going to attract ALIs. We are the reflection of our circle, and that can't lie. You look in the mirror, you're not going to see somebody else. You're going to see you. So your woman is out there bopping around because you bopping around. And if you bopping around, you don't think she's bopping around, she's bopping around. Air likes attract. So this prescription, y'all, to cure this disease, it's a societal disease, but it's on the individual level because we are society. So we all have to be cured. That's the entire prescription, is fix yourself. Everything else flows from you fixing yourself, okay? It ain't got nothing to do with your circle. It is nothing about cutting people off. The prescription is not going to go searching for a better crew, for more loyal men of higher character. The prescription is to become the kind of man who attracts covenant brothers, and by becoming a covenant man yourself. The circle is downstream from your character. You can't fix the downstream problem without addressing the upstream cause. Most of y'all will resist this prescription because it removes the external explanation. You can't just blame everybody else. It's easier to say that these men are disloyal than to ask, what kind of environment was I creating? What was the gravity of my life attracting? And what kind of men are comfortable in this kind of gravity? Like air likes attract. At the soul level, at a spiritual level. I have brothers, alhamdulillah for this, that are my brothers. If they tell me something, I don't question it. I have other people in the peripheral, they tell me things, and I'm just like, okay. But I got brothers on a soul level, and that just hit different. And if any of them in here, y'all know what you know what I'm talking about. It's different. You connect, not from your cars, not from this or that, character to character. The absence of character to the absence of character, you can connect to. You are your crew. You're the same, okay? And this is not about being judgmental. This is literally the architecture of attraction operating exactly as Allah has designed it. You don't need to get the circle you want. You get the circle your character produces because that's what you deserve. When a man is living in misalignment, right? When what he is doing is not blessed, when his money is wrong and his purpose is unclear and his relationship with Allah is not there, the environment he generates does not attract men of Mwala. It attracts men comfortable in the same misalignment, filthy men that like being filthy. The gravity of his own life produces a specific ecosystem, and the man comfortable in that ecosystem are the men who stays. The ecosystem is never lying. It's just patterns. It's always showing exactly who you are. Then something shifted internally. The alignment began. Gradually, without a dramatic announcement, the submission to something above the self is started. The life began moving towards order. Relationship with Allah began to clarify, and the circle started changing without being recruited. Look, the men who needed the old environment found reasons to leave. They just wasn't comfortable in it. The men who belonged in the new environment found reasons to arrive. Nobody was hired. Nobody was fired. The gravity changed and the ecosystem changed with it, right? Rad. Listen, y'all, my Arabic's not that good. I'm not even trying to act like it is. I'm doing my best. Inshallah, I'll grow in my Arabic. And Surah Ra'ad, I think, Ayah 11, Allah does not change the condition of a people until they change the condition within themselves, what's in their heart, what's in their mind, what's their desires. Apply that to the individual level. The condition of your circle will never change until the condition of your character changes. The condition or the quality of your spouse that you attract will not change until you are a better quality human being. The external follows internal, always. When you understand that law, you stop asking why your circle is what it is, and you start asking, who are you actually at the level that produces the circle? What's wrong with you? The prescription moves through it moves through three specific changes, right? One produces the next. Skip one, and this prescription, it fails. The first change is the ordering of your own voila of yourself. Before you ask who is loyal to you, answer who does your loyalty belong to? A man whose primary loyalty is to Allah, whose covenant is with his creator, is the organizing principle of his decisions. That man has a foundation beneath him that nobody can move. His loyalty to his brothers flows from that covenant. Is not contingent on what they provide. It is grounded in shared submission to the one who owns them both, to Allah. He's grounded in Islam. He carries some of the stability of that ground. When your wallet is properly ordered, your human loyalties become structurally stable. sound because they're not, no, they are downstream of something that does not change. Allah does not change. Remember, Allah is the supreme constant. The covenant does not change. The deen does not restructure based on your mood or market conditions. The loyalty built on that foundation does not dissolve when conditions change because they did not originate in conditions. When your wallah is disordered, when your governing loyalty belongs to your comfort, your status, your ambition, your ego, or your need for validation, your human loyalties will be exactly as stable as those things. Those things change on a regular. Every relationship built on that disordered foundation, it changes as rapidly as the wind blows. Two disordered wallah structures produce exactly what the party bus season for me, it produced. An orbit that was held together by gravity that collapses at the moment the gravity falls or fails. The second change is the standard of honesty that you require in reward. A wallah man is an honest man, one who delivers truth when the truth costs him something to say. Most men build circles optimized around agreement. Yep, yes men. The men who reflect them favorably, validate their direction, celebrate their wins, soften their losses. It feels like loyalty. The man only receives favorable reflection. If that's all that you can receive, that's all you're getting, you're not going to grow. In order for one to grow, you need accurate information about your current position. Accurate information about your current position is never always flattering. It requires confronting the distance between where you are and the covenant, where the covenant demands you to be. When a brother brings you a truth that costs him something to say, that's wallah in action. You say, alhamdulillah, subhanallah. He's placing your growth upon the safety of the relationship. That's a real one. He's choosing covenant over comfort. That man is rare, and rarity is worth protecting, not punishing. Stay close to that kind of man. The third change is the practice of standing before the test demands it. Listen, stand before the test demands it. Every man will claim loyalty before the pressure comes. That claim costs nothing. It means nothing because they're not tested. The men who actually stand when everything is on a line, they've been practicing standing in smaller moments for years as a natural output of the kind of man that they had already decided to be before the situation called it. They've been practicing. The men who stood, listen, when I was a fugitive, I rebuilt my life already, but I still had the dark cloud. I was still a fugitive. I had to fix that. So when the marshals came and got me, the circle that I had at the time, they did not back away from me. I could not have been mad if they would have backed away from me. Oh, I didn't know he had that going on. They stood there. They supported me. They showed up. They stood up. Voila, right? Those men stood when the marshals came. They were not pretend. You're not pretending in a time of a crisis. Those are covenant men executing the standard that they had already set for themselves. The crisis did not build their loyalty. It just showed it. They've been working on that already. The honest conversation that cost them something, right? They've had it. The presence that they showed when presence was inconvenience, mastered at it. The association maintained when association was a liability. They ain't tripping, they don't care. Those moments were those were the actual buildings, y'all. The crisis was just a test. We get tested all the time. What matters is how you go through that test. And a test, it don't come in good time. It come in when it sucks. A test sucks. How you gonna stand up? Or are you gonna stand up? That's what matters. Not all the other days, the regular days. Everything is cool. That doesn't matter. Shit fucked up. What are you gonna do? That's what matters. When it's inconvenient, become that kind of man. But first, order your own wallah. It requires honesty, and you reward honesty. You want honesty. Practice standing in those small moments. The law that Allah placed in His creation will not do the rest. You do not need to go and find better men. You need to become a better man. The better men will find the environment that you built and recognize it as a home. I understand that the understanding is in place, right? The diagnosis, I've given it to you. The prescription, I've said it. Self, right? The work now moves from the mind to the body, okay? Daily executable structure that converts insight into character, because we have to be rational and practical about everything, okay? Now, you should audit your wallah, right? Write it out. Y'all got to do these things. You care about yourself. Do your homework for yourself, right? Try this right now. a structured written examination of, taking inventory of your circle, every active alliance in your life. And you want to like put 3 questions against it, right? Design them so honest that these answers will actually produce useful data. And a dishonest answer, it produces visible discomfort that reveals the problem. The audit is private, it's written, you do it alone. It's not for the world, not for social media, none of that, right? The goal is accurate sight, not comfortable confirmation. This is how y'all do it. Write down every person that you, for fellas, ladies, just invert it, men and women. Men, write down all the men that you consider a brother, business partner, close friend, whatever, in circle, squad, whatever you want to call it. Every man whose opinion shapes your decision or whose presence you depend on, write it out. Full list, no editing, include everybody. For each name, listen y'all, for each name, somebody write this in the chat. Answer in writing, write this down. Does this man have something of his own? Does this man have his own motion, direction in life? Does he have a life he's building independent of your proximity, right? Because a man with nothing going on or independent of your orbit is structurally incapable of Mwala. His presence is, he's there because he needs you only. And he's not your son, he's your homie. That's not the vibration. Loyalty is not through needing you. That's the worst. Mark his name, independent or dependent. And for each name, answer, has this man ever told me something to pull my coattail, to like kind of check me? Productive criticism, constructive criticism, right? One specific moment. That's it. And if you can't identify one, he has not demonstrated Mwala. He has demonstrated comfort management. Mark each name, demonstrated honesty at cost, or demonstrated comfort management. Okay. For each name, answer, is this man accountable to something greater than himself? Does he have a covenant? Right? Does he have a law above his own preference that governs his behavior? Right? Man accountable to nothing above himself has no ceiling on his betrayal. Trying to tell y'all, when his preference changes, his loyalty changes. Mark each name, grounded or ungrounded. God or no God. I don't care if they say, oh yeah, I'm a believer. Are you a believer? Because in Islam, it's not about believing, it's about practicing, it's about doing, being, action, not talking. So when you write that down, read what you wrote and sit with it. Sit with that accuracy that you wrote out. Sit with that audit, right? And it's not about necessarily cutting people off. That audit is for you to see clearly. You cannot protect yourself from counterfeit loyalty that you can't see. You got to identify it, right? Sight is the first action of stewardship in your own character, right? The circle that you are currently operating in is shaping your character without your conscious participation. You give people access, time, energy, and alignment to determining who you are becoming. That's what's happening. You can't steward what you cannot see accurately. The audit is the lens, so use it. I hope y'all enjoyed this message. I hope it landed. All right. We will, okay, I'm gonna give y'all the channel that I told you will be so far for this will be at, because it won't be on this channel. It's only on this channel right now while we're live. All right. So we'll clean it up a little bit, take out my ums and ohs, right? And it will be live like a little later on tonight, the entire thing. Okay. I appreciate y'all for rocking with me, for the patience. I appreciate y'all for all the years of support to keep it 100. Here's the link right here. I can't pin it for some reason. It's in here. Somebody said on mic, All right, y'all. Out there. As-salamu alaykum.
Yeah, they could hear you.